So this is not a podcast about how to fill out your FAFSA. There are many podcasts out there on how to fill out your FAFSA, how to pick a major, how. There are lots of how-tos out there. This is not a how-to. This is a space for you to take a listen. Maybe you can relate to some of the stories that I share, because that's what this is about. This is about stories. It may resonate with you and help you along. Okay? All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome.
To your office.
To my office. Yes, to my office. And actually, it's a little bit before 2 p.m. Right on time.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
So we want to get started with just telling you a little bit about ourselves and who we are and why we put this thing together and the craziness of all the other podcasts out there in the world. So I'm Dr. Just Vega, and I am a professor at a community college in Central California. I've been a professor for about 15 years now. And before that, I was in industry and advertising and marketing. I think I got inspired to start teaching, when I was in grad school at some point. And so when I got to finally start teaching and interact with students, I remembered my college experience and remembered how bad it was. And so I wanted to make sure that I connected with students and made sure that their college experience wasn't bad, right? The way mine was kind of bad. And so this podcast is about sharing some of the experiences that I've had with my students in terms of moments of mentorship, okay? And sharing those, I guess, nuggets of knowledge or advice or just kind of tidbits, experiences that sometimes we don't get a chance to talk about. But I'll talk about that a little bit more as we get on through the episode. So I'm an old industry person that switched over to academia, loving my job. I'm a professor in business. I used to be a professor in communications. And I just love working with students. And I now get to do a podcast with one of my old grad students. And I'm calling her old because she graduated a long time ago. But her introduce herself.
Yeah, so I'm Ayana Higgins. I met Dr. Vega while I was attending Cal State Fullerton. And even well after I had finished my thesis, she's continued to share a lot of advice with me. And I just had to get her on a mic eventually because I was like, enough of the games, because I feel like there's a lot of things that we discuss just going on, personal life in the world, just to kind of keep our hands on and make sense of things. And I feel like right now, especially, this is a great time for anybody who just needs someone who kind of gets them and maybe wants to expand on their own thinking and things like that. So yeah, we're planning on making some moves with this one. So
yes, and I think that she's being a little shy, but several of my students have suggested that I do something like this, and I have said no. So Ayana definitely put a good fight up and convinced me to do this. And it's really exciting because I do get to talk to lots of you guys in one felt swoop. And so that's really exciting. So I definitely don't claim to, be a psychologist or any type of licensed counselor or anything like that. This podcast is really meant to give voice to those moments that we feel may not have voices, meant to possibly give language to experiences that maybe some of us feel that we don't necessarily have language for, have words for, to address questions that we didn't even know we had to ask, right? All during the time in college.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have experiences, or sometimes we have doubts or questions that we don't even know we have to ask. And I have found, especially with students, BIPOC students, students of color, students that come from marginalized communities, students that are first generation, our experiences, and I say our because I was one of those students, are somewhat unique, because we have a lot of different things that come into play that we may not even realize ourselves that come into play. And so one of the things that I've been able to help students with is that. It's just that. So it goes beyond academics. It goes beyond career, right? So this is not a podcast about how to fill out your FAFSA. There are many podcasts out there on how to fill out your FAFSA, how to pick a major, how. There are lots of how-tos out there. This is not a how-to. This is a space for you to take a listen. Maybe you can relate to some of the stories that I share, because that's what this is about. This is about stories. It may resonate with you and help you along. Okay. So, yeah. So let's get into it. What are we getting into today, Ayana?
November. It's only been 13 days, and it's been the longest month for a lot of reasons. And it's going to continue to be long with the holidays. So election, holidays, navigating that while you're in school too. And then, there was something else. With the weather changing, or the weather changing. Sun's going down at like 3 p.m. We have to figure out how to maneuver all of this effectively. So I want to start by asking you, though, how have you felt?
Heavy, right? Heavy. I am in a position where I have to, first and foremost, my student population is majority BIPOC students, majority first gen, lots and lots of Mexican immigrant families, Mexican American families, LGBTQ plus members of the LGBTQ plus individuals. So I'm holding space for a lot of individuals. I'm feeling a lot of grief, right? That's what it's heavy on my heart. And I have to be strong for my students. That's really important to me. So I actually had to take some time last week. I had to take some time last week and practice some self-care, which, as woo as that may sound, I really did have to. I internalized a lot of the emotions and stress that came along with the election and the results. And so I got physically ill after a few days of that. And so I had to work through that. But then I had to, pull myself up by my bootstraps and go ahead and get back in the classroom for my students. And it's really surprising how, for many, it was business as usual. There were lots of professors that were able to pick up where they left off and just kind of, business as usual, which great. I wish that's something that I could have done. I was not able to do that, And so I addressed my class and let them know that my office was open. Um, and that, you know, if they wanted to talk, you know, they can definitely chat. And I was surprised at how many people took me up on that. And so it was heartbreaking, to be honest, to hear, you know, the various concerns, and I mean, legit concerns, right? Like active concerns, like, you know, I do not know if I can come back to school next semester because, you know, I do not know the status of, you know, where I will be living. Am I going to be in this country? Can I afford to come back to school? Will financial aid be an option? Um, you know, will part of my family be here? Will the other part not be here? What will my civil rights actually look like next year? What will my civil liberties look like next year? What will my marriage look like next year? You know, really valid questions, things that are up in the air regarding policy, right? And the other layer to this is to the fact that some of these students didn't necessarily have an outlet to express these concerns at home, because they needed to be strong for their family, right? Or there was conflict from an ideological perspective at home, or there just was no conversation, right? So all of those scenarios presented an obstacle for them to express themselves one way or another. And so I found that, you know, I served as that, you know, sounding board. So it really was a lot of just me listening, you know. So it's multifaceted, you know. It's not just one thing or another, you know. There are layers to this, you know, and so dynamic and complex, that I even had a student, because I actually took a poll in one of my classes, you know, to see, just to kind of get a pulse of the room, to see, it was an anonymous poll, because I actually held this particular class on Zoom, because it literally was the day, oh no, this was the day of the election, before the results, and I asked to see how anxious they were. And I gave them a couple of options, and one of those options was, I don't care. So it was like, yes, no, I'm freaking out. And one of the options was, I don't really care, right? And so one of the students actually stayed after class and said, I was one of the students that said, I don't care, but I feel bad. I actually want to care. And I said, that's okay. Like, you know, he's 18. I mean, I know that when I was 18, in complete transparency, I didn't care. I graduated from high school in 96. So it was in 96 that I was 18. I just didn't, I wasn't, no, 92. I graduated from college in 96. So 92, I just wasn't dialed in, you know? And so I told him that. I'm like, don't feel bad about not caring if you know why you don't care.
Yeah.
You know? Like, but now you feel as though you want to care. So find out why you want to care, you know? And just educate yourself, you know, because not everybody I mean, no matter how bad it gets, not everybody wants to care, you know? And so he felt as though following suit regarding what his family voted, how his family voted, wasn't necessarily, you know, how he should have necessarily voted. Maybe he should have, you know, made his own decision or whatever the case was, right? I think it's interesting that just kind of holding space to have conversation about just feelings around the election without discussing, you know, platforms or, you know, issues or, you know, any of that, you know, that it led to such a positive outcome, I would say, you know. So even though I still carry a heavy heart, the work that I've done really has been worth it, even though it's been difficult, because it has been difficult to be in front of the classroom, and talk about whatever the subject matter is, right? Global markets or whatever, statistics or whatever. It's very challenging, when I myself, right, am thinking about what is my family going to look like? How is my family going to be impacted? Because I know that I will be directly impacted with some of the social policies that are anticipated to take place. So heavy and scary, right? And scary. But at the same time, I'm a strong believer in making sure that my students' voices are heard. And so for now, that's how I'm handling it. Just kind of focusing my energies on making sure that all of my students have an outlet to talk to about what they're feeling, regardless of party or any of that crap, because I'm over it. I'm over the politics of it. The humanity of it is really what what concerns me. People
and
are really getting impacted.
absolutely. And I like this because I think truly, for like a good handful of your students, you were probably the only person to ask them that week about just where they're at. And then this election, this me ass election, I think right now it's absolutely a time to if you have space to share. I think that's so valuable, because everybody was just so heavy. And it's hard when you're so used to, like, in your profession, like, you got to get up on stage, you got to be present and things like that. And I mean, anybody working, like, you got to get up and get in front of people. And if you're also caring and helpful on top of that, like this, it's frustrating not being able to give your full heart like you want to, because you're trying to maneuver it through. But with these conversations that you're having, I think that's, like, there's no better way to really to heal right now during this. And just to make sense of it, because and then, like you said, give your students a voice and a mic, and just to see where their heads are at, because that's not necessarily the case. Maybe at home. So.
Yeah. And it makes everything else really challenging for the month. And I think that's why we called this episode Navigating November Noise. Because that's what's happening, right? It's so many people are saying, oh, I'm passing on the holiday this November because I don't want to confront, individuals, whether they're family members or friends, whatever, loved ones, right? Over the holiday, because of whatever happened during the election, whether they voted one way or another, right? And they don't want to confront those conversations. They don't want to confront the divisiveness that is inevitable, right? And so that's really stressful, especially when we're talking about our communities, right? That culturally, we are expected to be at the dinner table on Thursday.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
We can't.
Mandatory
We don't have the option of saying, oh, I'm going to go camping instead.
Yeah.
I'm taking a trip elsewhere, right? As a 20-something, I mean, a lot of us are expected to be at the dinner table on Thursday, with the family. It's just not acceptable to be anywhere else.
Yeah. So then how would you self-soothe? How are you self-soothing during this time?
I think I'm just really focusing on my hobbies, I think that I love taking care of little Jess. at times like this.
Yeah.
So I think that we all need to like think about what are those like really fun things that you like to do, whether they're big or small, you know? Like I love coloring. I mean, super simple activity that I love to do. Coloring, both
Mhm.
digitally and you know, paper, pencil, whatever. Um, I knit with no purpose though, you know, like I knit with no purpose. Like depending on the needle that I'm using, people will either think that I'm making a scarf or a blanket, but I'm never knitting anything. Like I'm just knitting to knit because I don't want to
Yeah.
count stitches or, you know,
Yeah.
alternate stitches, and because then that requires me to think. I'm not trying to think.
Yeah. Yeah. That
I'm
leave the
just
brain at
knitting,
home.
you know. So if
Yeah.
anybody asks, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm knitting a blanket, you know. I'm not knitting anything. Um, Listening to music is definitely important, and
Mm.
my latest and greatest hobby that I acquired I think a year ago, that's Billy, a year ago, is my Switch, my Nintendo Switch, you know. So I became a cozy gamer, and so
Mhm.
yeah, that's how I soothe. And I have animals, you know. I've got 3 dogs and a cat, and I spend a lot of time with them. And so, and living in Santa Cruz allows me to have a really wonderful, productive relationship with nature. So I go hiking a
Yeah, I gotta get
lot. Yeah.
outside. Yeah. That's
But I think getting in tune with those things that really bring you joy, like that really bring you joy. And as soon, I was having this conversation with one of my students the other day, and they said, I love laying in my bed and watching television. And I said, you go.
yeah.
That's right.
Enjoy.
Yeah, she says she
Mhm.
doesn't get to do that very much. So like that's one activity that she just absolutely adores, and like it really brings her joy. So I'm like, there you go.
I really love that for her. I don't even know her, and I really because there's no better feeling. Like I completely agree with you. Definitely trying to tap into my kid and
Mhm.
assessing my triggers, and I'm just
Mhm.
like right now I'm on all hands on. I'm like, look, it's about what makes her happy, and I got to figure that out. Like
Right.
I said, I want to have space. I do have
Mhm.
space, but not when it comes to like right now. It has to be about me. It has to be
Yeah.
about you,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I
Mm.
also like I've implemented like literal self-care. Like I just got a haircut,
Good.
you know, like I pay
Yeah.
attention to skincare like religiously now. Um
Mm.
for multiple reasons, but one of them being, you know, just self-care. Um, so, you know, that's really important. And it, you know, I can do it, you know, while I'm watching TV and stuff like that. And it makes me feel like I'm, you know, taking care of myself, you know, not letting myself go. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
that's always a good thing. So it I think it's really important to kind of tap into those activities that just bring you joy, even if just temporarily, you know, like just, you know, and activities that you can tune out with too, you know, like that allow you to zone out, you know, that don't
Yeah.
allow you to spiral into more thoughts, you know, that just allow you to kind of
Mm.
zone out. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
People call
definitely
it
needed.
dissociating, but I don't like calling it dissociating. That's just, it sounds horrible.
It is horrible because like it's yeah, like you're not really using your brain, but it's like yeah, you're just not being present. It's
Right.
like I don't know, it's like if you're very present in your hobby,
Right.
you will have a blast. Yeah, but
Exactly. Like
find
you're
yourself
like
disassociating.
hyper laser focused on your hobby as
Mhm.
opposed to a million things at the same time.
Oh, but I think now is a great time to rest, hobby, but then also get in touch with your communities,
Hmm.
communicate, speak on it,
Hmm.
and a lot more activism. I mean, this isn't going down without a fight, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
And it's just it's
Hmm.
fun to see people get really amped up about it, you
Hmm.
know, because
Yeah.
we need a spark.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think the other, you know, the the other part to this is, you know, the shock and awe that people are going through in terms of once they find out how people voted, afterward.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that people are going through now too, where they're like kind of shocked that certain individuals in their circles or lives voted one way or another. And the hurt and the pain and the betrayal, right, that they feel, because of that. Whereas in the past, I think that we've been able to vote we've been able to cherry pick on issues that are more salient than others within a particular party. I'm being very careful here. So we've been able to say, okay, I'm going to select this party because of this particular topic, issue, matter, policy, whatever, because it's really important to me. Even though, despite these other issues or matters that I don't agree with them on, okay? In the past, we've been able to, okay, been able to do that a bit. I say that loosely, okay? There have been a lot of individuals, clearly based on the aftermath of this election, okay? Because there's been a lot of back and forth with people, right, on social media. It's like, okay, last time I gave you a pass, but this time, right, there's a lot of that kind of banter going back and forth. But this time, and so when people found out in other elections, oh, you voted this way or this way, it wasn't a deal breaker. But this election, it seems like on a social level, it has become something different. It is a deal breaker for a lot of people.
It's brought out everybody's ugly.
Yeah. And so that dynamic is different to me, now, because it is more definitive, right? It's a lot more black and white now, no pun intended, than it has been in the past. People that have had, who are Republicans, that have had Democrat friends, Democratic friends, may not have Democratic friends now. Democrats that may have had Republican friends in the past may not accept Republicans in their lives now, right? Now the lines of acceptance and tolerance are drawn a little differently now. And so that is really hard. Can you sit at the table across from your uncle, cousin, sibling, parent, and just not talk politics, knowing that they voted differently from you during this election? That's hard. Mm-hmm. And you can't get out of it because it's disrespectful, right? Let's say that's your circumstance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the feelings that we're having are very, they cut across all of it. They cut across all of November, okay? Because with the holidays, it's not just what's going on with the election, right? With the holidays, this is the beginning of the holiday season. So all the stuff that comes with the holiday season for people that is not necessarily, celebratory in nature, right?
Mm.
Right? All the things that people have experienced that now maybe some of us have, lost a loved one. And this is the first holiday that we're having without a loved one, or a number of scenarios that we may be experiencing now on top of, right, everything else.
I'm curious this year. I am. I'm excited for our talks as we kind of navigate this holiday season too with everybody. I don't know. I can't help but remain hopeful. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I do have hope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, we might just have to Nintendo Switch our way through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just
Longer
ordered.
naps, being easy on yourself.
I pre-ordered a
What'd you
game.
pre-order?
Just and I pre-order. Typically, I can wait. Like I'm not a gamer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially that I just picked up the Switch like a year or so ago, or maybe however, like a year and a half. But my spouse is a Sims player, loves The Sims.
Me
Yeah,
too.
and so yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So and I always tease her because The Sims has that language, that Sims language. I think it's hilarious. So anyway, so now there's a Sims on Nintendo Switch that is a cozy version.
I saw it. I gotta get it.
And so I pre-ordered it because it releases on the 19th of November, and I knew it was going to be a tough November.
A little cold sticker bit.
Yes. So Nintendo, shamelessly, already going to start this. Okay, I'm going to start this now. Nintendo Switch. Listen, you have no idea, Nintendo, what the Switch does for my life. All right. It has provided me with solace at times. Let me tell you something. So for you individuals out there, 50 plus, if you need to put your Kindle aside, which I also love, Kindle, and you need something else different, visual, the Nintendo Switch.
Get you one.
Get you one.
Get you one. No, for real.
And there's a new one coming out next year, so they say. I try not to get caught up in the whole,
gaming news.
Gaming news.
The gaming scene. I'm like,
I can't do it. Because every other week it's a different story,
Yeah. They've been saying they're going to drop GTA 6 for like the last 4 years now.
See?
I'm like, all right.
I'm a little concerned that that's what's happening with the Switch. I'm a little concerned. So I'm letting it go. I'm just enjoying my Switch, making it more comfortable every day. Now I've got the little, different handle thing for it. See, I'm old and I don't even call it right. I know I'm not naming it correctly, but it's fine. It's not a Nintendo product, Nintendo. Okay. All right. So anyway, that's what we got for you guys today. November is hard. Okay. November is hard. It's full of emotions that are challenging. It's busy, right? For college students, you got finals coming up. You got the Thanksgiving break that comes in the middle of mayhem, right? They should call it mayhem break. Whatever. I'm not a copywriter, but it's I remember, see, I got my PhD like old. Like I started my PhD, I got my PhD between 40 and 46. So I remember, that was like yesterday for me. So I remember Thanksgiving breaks. I hated them. I made it crystal clear to everybody. I do not travel for Thanksgiving, okay? Mm-hmm. Because it's like 2 weeks away from the end of the semester. It's horrible. I hated it. How did you feel about it when you were in school?
It's a crunch. It's a tight crunch. Yeah. And I can only imagine how the added layer of, like the election, and it's a heavy year.
Yeah.
And I mean, whoever's listening, I do wish you the best of luck. Yeah. You're resilient. I have no doubt. I mean, you're doing what you're doing right now and you're still here.
Yeah.
Woke up, ate,
yeah.
I have no worries for you.
Yeah.
What I would tell when I was back in grad school, just, you got to take breaks and you got to do more things that you actually like. And if you don't know what you like, you need to go spend a day figuring that out. That's really the first step. Because no one's going to be sweeter on you in this world than you are. And you got to figure out how you're going to keep yourself happy, especially during this time. And community.
Yes.
I think also during this time, about 2 years ago, I was probably yapping your ear off about some BS or a bill or work or something. So you really got to find your people.
Yeah.
that make you feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
And because chances are they're probably going through it too. So it's like, I don't think now is the time to kind of be cute and proper about how you're feeling.
Yeah.
You need to say what's on your chest.
Mm-hmm.
The right people will agree with you, and the ones who don't understand you, they'll have their own.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. And if you feel like somebody's not understanding you, it's okay to move on. You know, it's okay to kind of move on to the next set of ears that may understand you, you know, because I think that one of the key things right now is to find a set of ears that can relate or can understand you. I think that's really important right now. And that will help not only keep your sanity, but also just keep the peace, you know.
I promise you just need one person that sees you eye to eye.
Yep. Takes one. Just takes one. Awesome. So, thank you so much for your time today. And we look forward to chatting with you guys again. I think our next episode is going to be about humanity. And we'll let you know a bit more about that next week.
How we're going to save it, because damn it, we need it. We need it. So yes, please join us back again. We're going to make it through this, y'all.
Yes. Yes. How we can inject a bit more humanity and the benefits of that. Right? Just treating each other just a little better. Talk to you guys soon.